Hey, I'm Josh with Thomson Air Conditioning. We've been installing Quilt systems for about a year now, and there are some things we love. I have one here in my office that I'd like to take you on a journey through to show you all its features and benefits. But really, I'm gonna tell you the things that nobody else will. So the first thing that stands out with the Quilt system is how sophisticated and sleek it looks. The indoor and the outdoor unit both look fantastic, but there's so much more to it than that. The noise that comes out of this thing is next to none. These systems are super quiet. As with any horizontal discharge or side discharge unit, these systems are super quiet. So the way I use the Quilt in my office is a little bit different than I've used with other mini split systems. I've always had a ductless unit in my office where I work, and usually I have a remote or something to power, on and off the unit on a daily basis. But with the Quilt, I have the dial, and I chose to have it on my desk just because I might move my desk location around. I want to be able to plug it in wherever. So this just plugs into an outlet. I could unplug this and put it wherever it hooks up. I think over Wi-Fi, it connects in with the head unit and the condenser, but everything is controlled with this little dial here. And I really like that. It's nice. I just reach over, turn on and off things from the dial. I can turn on and off the light. Underneath the unit, I can set it, all the energy efficiency settings, louver directions. I can do everything from this cool little dial. And if you do have multiple head units, you can actually adjust each room. You can actually access all the different rooms from the dial or the dials. So it's kind of cool. So another thing I like, just like the outdoor unit is super quiet, the indoor unit's really quiet. So if I switch this to air conditioning, because it's a hot day today, and I turn it down, it starts to blow, but it doesn't get super loud. Even when it has to recover, it's starting to ramp up right now, but nice and quiet, nice and manageable. It's actually really nice, soft kind of white noise that comes through. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It gradually ramps up, it ramps down. They did a really good job with the noise factor in here, even though I have the louvers pretty tight. Also, this app is really cool. It's got all the schedules and everything. You can control your entire Quilt system, but outside of the initial setup, I don't actually use this app very much. I found that I really like to use the dial on my desk. I like the tactile function of just turning it on when I get here to work and turning it off when I leave. It works great. And then I also set the energy setting so that after 3 minutes of it not knowing that nobody's in the room, it goes ahead and turns itself off. There is such a sensitive infrared sensor in here. It can actually detect heartbeats. It can tell the difference between humans and pets. It's a very sophisticated system, and that's why I wanted to tell you the secret about why I like this Quilt system and the stuff no one else is gonna tell you. So the thing that nobody else is gonna talk about, because it's not sexy, is what makes Quilt actually cool. Like, why would you want it in your house as a homeowner? Why do I want it in my shop? And why do I want it to become the only product that I ever install? It's not because it looks good. It's not because it's the most efficient, which it is. It's not because, all these things that they can market and advertise that are so sexy. It's because of the guts and the way that they handle the unit on the back end. What I mean by that is Quilt is a bunch of software engineers that have built and designed a product that runs, how do I put this? It's monitored on the back end at an office in Silicon Valley. So basically, in the unit that's hanging above my desk, there are something like 23, 24 sensors inside there that give them real-time diagnostics of everything that's happening with that system. So if anything were to come up and the system was to lose some refrigerant or a component would start to fail, Quilt would know that, and they would notify me as the installing contractor, and they would have me go fix it. But here's where they differentiate, because there's a lot of other systems that have equipment monitoring. That's not revolutionary. But what Quilt does that's different is they don't just send out spare parts so that I have to do open heart surgery on this delicate little, Chinese made mini split system that's like, you know, all these little parts, like it's like dissecting an iPhone. They don't just send out a part. They just say, if you have to change a part on the indoor unit, we're just gonna give you a whole new unit. So for me as a contractor and for you as a customer, that is protecting your investment. You do not want to dissect one of these mini split systems and try to put a new spring or a new part in there. It's gonna ruin the life expectancy of the system. We shouldn't have our fingers, you know, taking these things apart. Just like your iPhone, when you have to change a part inside your phone, they have to peel it open and break. It's no longer waterproof. It's, you know, things happen. So first of all, the fact that when a part goes bad, they just swap the unit. They don't just swap the part. Huge. The fact that they're monitoring it and Quilt will actually tell you before you know you have a problem, huge. Quilt told me that stories of installers, not my company, we haven't experienced this, but we're not immune to it. But the guys charged up a system, and while they were going through the commissioning, tech support actually called them, you know, unsolicited, called the techs and said, hey, you've overcharged the system. So before you leave, you need to remove and recover some refrigerant from that system, or you're gonna have reliability issues. Huge, huge headache saver for that homeowner, because that homeowner either has lowered longevity of the system's life, or they have unreliability because on a hot day, it's gonna, you know, trip a fuse or a breaker or something like that, or it's just not gonna run right. Or you're gonna, worst case scenario, nobody ever knows, and you just have higher energy bills because it's not properly dialed in on the refrigerant charge. That's just at the head unit. But they have sensors in the condenser, everything's communicating and talking, but it's talking through your home's Wi-Fi connection and internet. So I just can't stress enough how important it is that they're monitoring and they can actually make adjustments from their end. So to articulate this, we had a customer where we installed the Quilt system and there was a ticking noise. Every couple minutes at night, we would hear this ticking and we couldn't figure out where it was coming from. But my customer just sent me a couple text messages and I sent those to Quilt. And in a few days, Quilt realized it was from the oil return. All they did is they made a software update over the air. They adjusted it so the oil return wouldn't happen between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. So when somebody's sleeping, it's not ticking. Problem solved, situation averted. In any other system, I would have gone on a wild goose chase to try to find that clicking. I might have torn the whole thing apart. But Quilt was able to understand the issue, notify us of what the issue actually was, change the system settings and make a major update over the air. We never had to send a technician out. And the customer never had to be down. They didn't have to have people in their bedroom, because it was a master bedroom. They didn't have to have people in their bedroom messing with this unit time after time after time, trying to figure out what's going on. Because remember, these systems are not like standard systems. You can't just walk up to any of the inverter systems and check a refrigerant charge. For example, we have an AC Pro system here at the shop and you can't check the refrigerant charge. You just have to dump the whole thing and weigh refrigerant in. You don't know if there's a leak. You don't know if it's overcharged, undercharged, what's going on. You just have to dump it and weigh it in. I don't like that. Quilt knows it, but they can tell you if the system's undercharged, if it's overcharged, if there's a failing component, if there's a nuisance issue. They can tell it if I didn't install it right, or if the customer's not using it right. They can make all these adjustments, and they're real humans that are monitoring the performance of these systems on the back end. So I think it's wildly exciting that this is happening in the HVAC industry. I think it's totally unique, and it's going to change the way AC companies do business in the future. But no one else is going to talk about it because it may be totally nerdy and totally boring and it's not sexy to talk about the guts of these systems. But that's why you should want Quilt in your house, and that's what you should pay the extra money for. And that's why I want to invest in Quilt as a contractor, because it's the right thing to do for the customer and it's the right thing to do for our industry. So thank you so much for hearing me out on my Quilt ramble. That's why I like the systems. There have not been a lot of things I don't like. I just found I don't use the app as much as I thought I would in the beginning. Totally necessary part of the system. But anyways, thank you for watching. Thank you for paying attention till the end. Hope you have a great day.